Hi again, my name is Andy Munitz, National Training Manager for Sony's Professional Solutions Division. In this segment of our Journalist Backpack training video, we'll touch on some suggestions for settings and operation of the major pieces of equipment in the kit. First up, let's talk a bit about how to configure the HXR NX30 camera for easy operation. Now, as with most professional camcorders, the menu system is where most of the power lies in controlling many of the functions of the camera. And although we'll go over what I think are the most important settings I'd like to make sure you're aware of and will want you to access in the camera, I certainly urge you to take the time to go through all of them and learn what they can do and what they can do for you in any particular production situation. Now, although going into detail on all of the creative controls and shooting methods you might like to use is not in the scope of this video, at the end of this presentation I'll be giving you links to other online videos that will help you in this process if so desired. So let's get started and have a bit more in-depth look at the NX30's menu system. You'll notice that all that is required to power up the NX30 is to open the LCD panel of the camera. From here you'll see a touchscreen, which is key to giving the NX30 access to far more controls that could ordinarily be put on the physical body of this size camera. By simply touching the menu icon, you'll be presented with a top-level sub-menu, giving you access to several key functions of the camera. One of the first things I like to confirm is the format that I'm intending for the camera to record in, as the NX30 has many choices available. These options are located in the Record Media Set submenu. Once in that menu, the first menu choice will determine whether the camera is shooting in high definition or standard definition mode. For the purposes of this video, we'll leave that in HD mode. After backing out of that menu, the next choice is the Media Select menu. This will give you the option of recording to the 96 gigabytes of internal memory that the camera has, or alternately will allow you to record to external memory cards such as the 32 gigabyte SD card included with the kit. The next submenu available is for choosing the HD record format. Once on that menu page, with the aid of the left side scroll arrows, you'll be able to see all of the record quality and frame rate choices available to you, even including options for recording in 720p. But for the purposes of this video, we'll concentrate on the 1920 by 1080 modes. For most shooting applications, I suggest using the 1080 FX modes in either 60i, 30p, or 24p options. The choice of these various frame rates is dependent on the visual look that you're trying to achieve. In the very simplest terms, 60i will yield a live television look, where both 30p and 24p are generally used to achieve a more filmic look. One other setting that you might be interested in here is the 1080 60p PS mode. This can best be used, in my opinion, for shooting video that you might want to slow down in post-production editing. In our situation here, we're going to set the NX30 to shoot in 1080 60i FX mode. We'll hit OK twice, and now we're back out to the main menu screen. Another format-related choice that you might want to make has to do with the type of audio file format that you want to record with. This choice can be found in the Camera and Audio submenu, which, by the way, will have most of the normally accessed menus that you'll deal with. Once in this menu, near the very bottom, is a selection for audio format, and you can notice here that the choice is for either linear PCM or Dolby Digital. Linear PCM is the highest quality choice, although both are excellent, but in the case of some non-linear video editors, transferring files using linear PCM might take a bit longer to ingest into the editor, so keep that in mind. Now, for the purposes of showing the next set of menu choices, I'm going to make one additional menu choice that is in the Setup submenu. Scrolling down and selecting the Display setting choice will allow me to choose whether the normal camera screen display menu will automatically revert after a short time or stay on. I'm going to set this to stay on, but you may choose to set this back to auto afterwards. Now, back on the home screen, you'll notice that there is lots of information: battery life, available memory space, recording mode, audio level display, playback mode access, just to name a few. Along the left side, though, you'll see 3 user-selectable soft keys for gaining fast access to menu settings that you find you use more often than others. The choice of these is up to you, and you might even change these depending on the kind of shoot you're doing. But they are there to help with quick operation of the camera, so I wanted to make sure that you know how to set them. So what might we change these to? Let's have a look. By going to the Camera and Audio submenu, we can scroll down and find the My button selection. Inside of this submenu, you can see all of the various selections that you can make to assign to any one of the 3 soft keys. Some useful ones that I've used in the past might be, for example, Spot Meter. This comes in handy for when you are capturing a person against a particularly dark background. The camera's auto exposure system, if you are not in manual exposure mode, will try to expose for the large dark background and end up overexposing the person's face. By engaging Spot Meter, you only have to touch that person's face on the touch screen, and the camera will properly expose for them or the area of the scene that you've selected. Exposure control is a much larger topic, though, and not in the scope of this video, but in a constantly changing environment, sometimes auto exposure might help out. It's good to know that this spot exposure option exists, and if you need to use it often, having this menu quickly available can be useful. Just remember to go back to auto mode when you're finished, or you'll be left in that specific spot exposure setting. Another choice you might want up on the user button is fader. If I know that I'm not going to post-production edit a particular clip, where I could add any number of different transition effects, but I want a simple fade in and fade out transition, you can choose this to allow quick access to this mode in the camera. Another possible choice for one of the buttons might be for engaging the camera's advanced balanced optical steady shot system for when using the camera in handheld mode. For when the camera is on a tripod, though, there is a slight increase in field of view with this mode turned off. A setting for microphone reference level is sometimes very handy to have quick access to. For example, if you're using the camera to shoot where there is very loud music, being able to reduce the camera's mic sensitivity will help prevent audio overload, even when the camera is set to adjust audio levels automatically. But when the music stops, or you want to go back to interviewing people, you'll want to be able to quickly return to normal mic sensitivity. Again, this is something that you might want to set up for a particular shoot only, but would not be one of your normally assigned button choices. Here we can see the choice of assigning the zebra exposure aid setting to one of the buttons. As we showed in our introduction video, zebras can really help when adjusting exposure, but you might not want to look at your scene with them on all the time. Now you'll be able to toggle them on and off quickly. And as you can clearly see, there are a host of other choices for what you might want to assign to these user-defined buttons, as compared with the default choices that the camera comes set up with. Again, it's up to you. To assign them in the My Button submenu, just choose the function you want, and then choose the button that you want to assign it to. Very simple and very useful. Obviously, with all of these menu choices, it's not in the scope of this video to be able to go into the detail needed to explain each one, but I hope that you'll be able to take the time to look through the camera's manual and explore these functions. Finally, while on the touch screen, notice the play button at the lower left corner of the screen display. Hitting this will put the NX30 in file playback mode, and it will allow you to watch recorded clips according to date shot. The touch screen will allow you to navigate through these clips, watch individual clips, and even select individual or multiple clips to erase if you so choose. Hitting the camera icon will bring you back to the main camera shooting mode. Next up, I want to give you a brief introduction into controlling the audio pod and how to get audio into the camera. As we discussed in previous segments, you can plug in various sources into the audio pod, such as the supplied mono short shotgun microphone, the UWP series wireless microphone receiver, the supplied F112 handheld mic, or even an external line level source. If we take a close look at the audio pod control panel, you'll notice that there are switches for input channel 1 and also for input channel 2, as well as a filter section on the far right. And on the far left, there is a switch that determines whether an audio source plugged into line 1 will be recorded only on channel 1 or be split out to be recorded simultaneously on both channels 1 and 2. One might ask why you might want to do this, and in fact, there's an interesting reason for it. If you have a microphone source, for example, where you're not quite sure of the range of levels that might be produced by it, you could feed it to both channels 1 and 2, but set the record level of channel 2 a bit lower than on channel 1. In that way, if channel 1 should inadvertently overload, then with the reduced record level on channel 2, you'll likely have a clean recording that you can switch to when editing the clip later on. It's like a safety backup channel in a way. Of course, if you have more than one input source of different types, for example in an interview situation where each on-camera talent has their own mic, or perhaps with the wireless mic on one channel and the shotgun mic on the other for capture of a more ambient sound, then you would set each channel to record individually, and then you could mix between the two sources when editing in post. Alternately, input 1 might be from one of your mics, and input 2 could be fed from an audio mixer that has a line level output. On the individual channel control section, notice that you have a choice for inputting a line level source, a microphone level source, or even a microphone level source that requires what's called 48-volt phantom power, as some condenser-style professional microphones require. You can also set input sensitivities of these channels to match a particular source. Below that, you have a record level control for when set on the manual setting, and you can look at your audio meters to help you set proper record levels. As well, you can set the record level control to be under automatic control, adjusting the record level as the changing signal requires. Although not always the best option, this mode can help protect you in certain circumstances. For example, when recording a performance in a theater, your record levels would normally have to be fairly high during the performance, but at the end, when the audience applauds, the record level would need to be lowered to prevent overload. Manually adjusting your record levels so quickly to match thunderous applause under these circumstances is nearly impossible. And so in this case, auto mode might be your best choice. Just something to think about. And to finish up the audio pod, on the right you have low-cut filters that can help get rid of low-frequency wind rumble when recording outside. For example, especially when you don't have appropriate windscreens on the mic. And finally, one other audio control you'll need to know about simply has to do with setting the audio monitoring volume that feeds either your headphones or the built-in speaker on the camera during either recording or playback. That control can be found under the Camera Audio Settings submenu under the Volume heading and also under the Clip Playback screen when reviewing a clip.